Hello and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. It's me, Joe, and with me as always is
Jamie.
Data?
And Dak.
Yes, we're all here. We're talking about the Lost Metal, chapters 17, 18, 19, and 20, wherein we get a view inside Steris's mind, which is sad and sweet at the same time. We learn about kind of the physics of the Cosmere, which is cool. And we learn about maybe the sets making bombs, not so cool. And then in the next chapter, we learn a little bit more about the new ambassador from the Southern Peoples. And then in the next chapter, we get inside Wax's head. We learn a ton of stuff from Harmony, and Wax is set to go on his next great adventure. And in the last chapter this week, we find out some even more stuff about the Cosmere and the gods therein. So we've got a lot to talk about this week, I feel like. So hold on to something, everyone. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
No man can truly outlast all the mistakes of his past. There's no haven here for me that's safe from my memories. But when your borrowed time is through, I'll be with you. Redemption.
So yeah, we get some answers to some very long-standing questions in these chapters, and it's just like knowledge nuggets, as Joe likes to call them. But it's like a bunch of them. There's nuggets dropping everywhere. What did you guys think of these 4 chapters?
Yeah, so like I said in the intro, I mean, the view inside Steris's head is just kind of, it's sad and sweet and nice. And there's some really good moments in these chapters where you get to see the relationship between Steris and Wax, and you really get to see how Steris loves Wax, which is really awesome. Some really cool moments, I think, just in that in general. And yeah, we get so much information here. It's almost like I was honestly shocked by the amount of information we were given in these chapters. I was like, wow, look at what okay, this. Oh wow, yes, this. Okay, I know this now. Okay, cool. And then I was like, oh, even more. So I almost felt greedy getting all this information dumped so that I get to know all these things. But yeah, I loved it. I love getting the info. Again, I think he's done a really good job in this book series, in the second Era Mistborn series. A lot of these moments feel very earned, and I feel like these moments, the characters almost, when they're getting the information, the characters are almost like, wow, it's nice to have answers. And I think Brandon may be doing this in kind of a funny way, saying like, yes, readers, you are now like the characters. You're just happy to have answers, aren't you? So I think he's a little tongue in cheek there, unless I'm missing the mark, but it's funny and it's cool. So yeah, I was really thrilled to get all this information that we got in these chapters, and I'm looking forward to what that's going to mean. And even though we did get a lot of answers, there's also some new mysteries and some new questions that were raised. So classic Brandon style. So really, really cool stuff. Really fun read.
Yeah. You're never allowed to have answers without adding additional questions into the mix. That would just be too easy, right?
Yep.
So did you? We got a new shard name this time too. So I don't know. Did you? What did you think of?
I believe we got 2.
Yeah, well, we got the name of another person, but I didn't know if that was the shard name or not, because it's not like the name. It doesn't sound like a shard name. Because it's Odium or whatever.
That's an aspect.
Is it?
I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking about the Says or the Harmony section. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like no, Odium is like hatefulness or something.
Oh, okay. So I knew that was another shard. I didn't know if it was like the name of the person, because he names autonomy as Bavadin or Bavadin.
Oh, gotcha.
So I wasn't sure if that was the name of the shard, like the aspect, or if it was the name of the person who's holding the shard. So, but yeah, no, autonomy. I thought it was a very cool idea, and I think it's well done. I mean, the thrall aspect, and when I say thrall, I mean like the avatar aspect. I feel like that's a little overdone, but it does have kind of a different twist on it. They're not mindless thralls. They get raised up to basically aspects themselves. So that portion of it I think is pretty cool. But yeah, the idea of autonomy and how it's explained is very intriguing for sure.
I'm glad Dak remembered that one because I'd totally forgotten that we got.
Oh, I had it
that.
written down in my notes. Yeah, I had it written down.
I forgot. So yeah, no, I really liked it. I actually really liked the Steris chapter and getting her viewpoint. And honestly, there was a lot in there that I was like, oh, I see a lot of me there, and I'm not comfortable with it. But yeah, I love their relationship in this book, and I'm just so glad that they've actually found happiness together, like true happiness, not settling for someone else or anything like that. It's like this is the relationship that Wax was meant to have and what Steris was meant to have, and I'm really loving that. I wasn't here last week, so I didn't really get to talk about it, but the having them sort of work off each other in the lab and getting all that stuff done, I was like, that's really cool too. So I'm really loving them. All the stuff about autonomy at the end, I agree. I think the way they've done it is really quite cool, having, each avatar of Trell, or Trell being an avatar of autonomy, and then they kind of take on their own thing. I thought was really good as well. It sort of is like, okay, well, how many? We know that Trell is an aspect of autonomy, but how many other of these religions that are out there are autonomy doing their thing? Like, that's a bit scary to me, but also I think that's going to unfold really, really cool. And just generally, I'm like a little bit nervous that we've had so much information already that where is the rest of, like, what are we going to get in the rest of the book? We normally don't get information until it all comes together at the end. So what the hell's going to happen that it all still comes together at the end? I don't know. But it's cool. It's very hard to stop at the end of each set of chapters so far, this book.
Yeah, I see that.
Going. I just want to keep going, but really, really loving it.
I like your point about, like, if we're getting this much information now, what does that mean is coming up from here on out? That there's scary things out there. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I knew when we were doing last week's, I was like, oh, Jamie's gonna love the them working together in the lab because it is just so cute. Like, I love the two of them together and how happy they are.
Yeah, it's so nice, and just all the stuff that she's thinking of, and then Wax is making sure that she knows, like, that it's important that she's thinking of these things and that he really appreciates it, and it's just really cute. Also, I really appreciate the level of research that Brandon's put into all the scientific aspects of it. Reading it going, oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that test, or oh yeah, that's there. Oh, wow, okay, I wouldn't have thought of putting that there, and seeing it in the fantasy setting as well. It's just really clever, really, really clever.
Yeah, the scientific examination of it, even when it doesn't make any sense, like when they put the Trellium in there and it's like the full spectrum, but also red jumps off the charts for some reason. That must prove that it's magical. So them trying to examine it all scientifically, and like how much work goes into that here, and all the descriptions, that's one of my favorite parts, where I'm like, I like this. This is it's like reading an actual mystery book or something where they're trying to do that stuff.
Very impressive.
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah, no, it's like definitely just info dump these chapters, and like, holy shit, we're getting all the answers. Like, after all the speculation of, oh, which shard is Trell to have Says just come out and just go, oh yeah, it's autonomy. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Even Wax is shocked by that.
Mystery solved. I mean, I think there was a moment like that in the Dresden Files where Harry Dresden was prepared to go through hell to try and find the answers for where he needed to go in changes, and then the person he was talking to just drops it on him. He's like, what do I owe you for this information? No, oh, nothing. Take it.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep, there sure was.
Trying to drop spoilers into that one because that was a massive book, but yeah, but like definitely, yeah, just so much going on in these chapters. Again, the Steris chapter, fantastic. I think if there is, like, aside from just all the information we got, the thing that really threw me in these chapters is, it's revealed that Hoyd is in on this to the main characters, but also there are other people who know about him and are like watching him. I'm just like, okay, does Hoyd have buddies, or are these people like working with him as a means to an end? Or because like Hoyd has never struck me as someone who works as a team.
Yeah, not so much.
So the fact that he's got I don't know about friends, but I don't know. Is his other buddy, the old lizard, going to show up as well? Geez, man, this opens up so many possibilities. So yeah, no, just so much going on here. Love the chat with Sazed. I loved seeing Marisai and Wayne getting ready to head out into Bilming. I'm curious to see Bilming, or see more of it, I guess. Like, because it's the only other city that can rival Ellendale, I think they said. So all right, let's look at someplace new. Yeah, just I was overwhelmed with the info this chapter. I do like the idea of autonomy though. Like the whole you have to have big plans, and even if they go against my plan, I respect that they're huge and full on. It sort of reminds me of Apocalypse from the X-Men, just like very survival of the fittest. And it's like even if your plan like fucked with mine, you had some severe balls to pull it off. So all right, I'll pay that.
Yeah, no, I could see that comparison actually. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know that I got the impression that this lady is friends with Hoyd the way that she talked about it, but
well, yeah,
no.
Friends is probably not the right term, but like she definitely knows there's more to him than the other characters have seen, and it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm keeping an eye on him or he's keeping an eye on me. So it's like, so do you guys work together, or did he just show up to like help you out for this one, or like what is this relationship?
Yep, that would be the question, right? Maybe we shall find out more. Maybe not. Just never going to get any more information about it.
And Hoyd just disappears from the rest of the book.
Hoyd's going to do nothing but drive a truck for the rest of the book.
Better not. My giant ass prediction from last time hinged on it.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's kind of important to your prediction that he be doing things. And
yeah.
Of course, I mean, what we get told about autonomy's goals in these chapters don't exactly fit with your prediction either.
Not even a little.
But it can still happen.
Yeah. I mean, Ruin seems like the kind of guy autonomy would have liked. He's like, yeah, he's got ambition. Wants to blow this place the fuck up. Good on him.
Like, good for you, Ruin. You do that.
Yeah.
You blow
Think
shit
big.
up.
Think big.
Okay. I guess let's do this thing. We start out like Joe mentioned, we're in Steris's head, which is not a place that we've gotten to be that often. And she is sitting here like everyone's like, oh, let's go down the stairs to where that explosion just happened. And she's sitting here like, look, I know that I overthink these things, and everyone tells me, and I realized that other people don't feel the same level of anxiety I do about these things. And so she's got all these possibilities. Like that explosion could have done all ththese bad things, but she's not going to like jump in and try to stop everybody from going downstairs to protect them, because she's like, no, I understand that I think about things differently. So I'm going to let them do. And my first thought here was like, no, I think that giant explosion in the basement is an okay thing for you to be concerned about people.
Sure.
Especially given all of the potential dangers that she then goes to list off. I'm just like, no, this is not you overreacting. This is them underreacting. And I get that it may be tough for you to tell because you always feel like you're overreacting or other people are underreacting. But I don't think that's the situation. But fortunately, after she hands out masks so that, to filter out particulates from the explosion, Wax is like, hey, hold on a second. Like, Steris, I know you have like lists for this kind of thing. Is there anything we should be watching for? So he actually has come to appreciate and be aware of and care about the way that she does things, which is kind of nice. It's very sweet. And I think it helps that, like I said, I think she's right in this case. And so she's like, so I mean, there's acids could be on the floor. They could mix to make poisonous fumes. There could be glass shards, secondary explosions, particularly from exposed harmonium, because we know that blows up just exposed to the air, let alone any of the other stuff down there. And Wax goes, I was testing with these two things that could easily have combined to create chlorine gas. So maybe that's a good point.
Vandale just freaks the fuck out.
He's like, oh shit, acid on the floor. I'm not going down there.
So they have a thing about acids. Understand.
Like, we've learned this since last time. Like, he noted Melon getting kind of weird about the giant frozen acid ice block or whatever. And he was like, oh, what's that about? And I guess since then he's kind of gotten the idea that, hey, they have concerns about these things. Don't know if he understands that acids can kill them, but I feel like that shouldn't be that big a leap. But Maybe that's just because I already know.
I mean, as a non-blob entity, I'm a bit freaked out by acids too. So
Yeah, no, fair point.
You don't need to be boneless to be scared of acid. What a sentence.
But it does help.
I don't want to get melted. I also don't want to get turned into the Joker or anything, so
Yeah, that's less likely though.
nothing good gonna happen from acids is my point.
One time. That happened one time.
That's not
Unless-
true. Acidity is what makes honey never go bad.
Unless you count like Harley Quinn in some of her origin stories.
So anyway, back to that honey. That's a good point. Like lemon juice is fantastic, and that's acidic.
We
Yeah.
have stomach acids and things that are helpful.
acids have their place.
Sure,
Each
just like bases.
hydrochloric acid has its place. I just don't feel like you don't want to come into contact with all of them, you know?
Acid has its place. My skin and lungs are not some of them.
And so they get down there after they've kind of ventilated the place to get rid of the chlorine gas. It has like powerful ventilators installed in the walls already, so that's useful. And she's like, okay, we're going to need a new spectroscope, new centrifuge, new walls.
Just a new lab, sounds
Yeah,
like.
basically. And so the special explosion box is just totaled. He's like, geez, how big must that explosion have been? It's like survived up to 3 ounces of harmonium detonations. I need a better measurement than, ounces of harmonium. I understand that maybe I think they do have TNT. We established in an earlier book that they have TNT. So if I could get like a TNT measurement, I'm more familiar with that. But
TNT of dynamite. Sorry, I like that song.
Copyright strike.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I think that's one of the 2 AC/DC songs I have on my.
What's the other one? Thunderstruck?
No, let me think. Hold on.
Long way to the top.
No, I got. It's funny
30
because no, actually,
Highway to
Highway
to Hell.
It's Highway to Hell. That's the one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's a classic.
But I have any because you guys ever read the second book by the guy who wrote Ready Player One? I'm having trouble remembering the name of it.
Ernest Cline.
Armada.
Armada. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not a good book.
It's not a great book, but in that book, a thing that gets repeatedly brought up is that like this guy inherited from his dad like his dad's playlist of songs that he would play while at the arcade. And so I was like, hey, some of these songs sound interesting. So I just got the whole playlist. And
how do you inherit a playlist?
I mean, I think it was.
I don't remember.
You know,
yeah, it's like on something.
Yeah, it's on like a cassette tape or or DVD or CD. I don't remember. It's
Man,
it's
I
not.
hope
like
you inherited something else. Like that'd be a shitty will reading.
I think he found it in his dad's stuff after his dad died.
Yeah, it wasn't like I bequeath to you, my son, my CD collection. That is all.
They must be played in this specific order.
But yeah, so that's how I ended up with any AC/DC songs, because there's actually a lot of AC/DC on that playlist. But several of them were like ones like instrumental songs, which I like my songs to have some words, so I didn't.
Right.
I didn't keep those. But anyway, so that was a weird tangent. But so he gets in there and he finds some like leftover remnants of metal. He's like, okay, we need to test this. It's probably not like the metals we were going for, but we want to make sure. And also, if some of this is harmonium, then we want to go ahead and keep that because that's valuable. So, and Vendel's like, I think we discovered something kind of big here, because that was very little harmonium, about 0.5 gram is what Wax says, which now that I think about it, I don't think fits with. Oh no, it was ounces earlier, and this is grams. So let's just mix our measurements also while we're at it. But he's like, this is way bigger than it should have been. I think that we have just experienced some sort of investiture to energy, explosive energy. I don't know if we'd call it kinetic energy or what, but he's like, I think that we've just had something where investiture has been directly transformed into energy.
Yeah. So basically, in our terms, he split the atom.
Yeah.
Axis.
Yeah, and I was going to point that out, because it says here axi are the smallest possible thing that we know, and so I was like, I guess that means that axi is atoms, unless they don't know atoms yet. And so Vendel starts trying to explain, physics basically. So physical substances, they're all made up of axi. And then there's energy. So there's matter, there's energy. And there's a third thing in this universe, which is investiture, which he calls the essence of the gods. When you burn metal, you're pulling investiture from the spiritual realm and using it to do stuff.
And they said, "Oh yeah, you're pulling power from the spiritual world." And just in my head, thought, super ghosty magic. And it's like, oh, if that's all investiture is anywhere in the Cosmere, you can apply that to any magic system here, like the Elantrian stuff, the like the Six of the Dust stuff. It's all just ghost magic. So that's just we're calling it that for the rest of the show. Let's go.
Well, I mean, it seems even more that way in Elantris, where it's like you draw a symbol and all of a sudden, like, ghost magic with the door, which is basically like all that energy out there in the cognitive realm. It just spills out and does whatever you shaped it to do.
Mm-hmm. Ghosty magic.
Yep.
Ghosty magic. There's a t-shirt. Super ghost magic.
Now I'm thinking of just like a picture of a ghost, like with a sheet, a sheet kind of ghost with like a wizard hat and a magic wand.
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, if that's not in Hogwarts Legacy, then that game's trash.
And so Vendel's like, the incredible amount of energy that's trapped inside that matter, and you released some of it. If you found a way to release its full potential, well, Harmony says that the destructive power of it frightens him deeply. So that's not good. And so he's like, I really need to go talk to Harmony about this. And so Vendel takes off. And so Wax looks at Steris and goes, worst case, because Steris is the one who thinks about this stuff anyway. She's gonna immediately like consider all the possibilities. She's a good person to go to for evaluation, and he knows that. So he's like, what's the worst thing that could happen here? And she goes, what if the set already knows?
That sort of shit is why she's easily more than a 7%er.
Yeah, right. And so Wax is like, yeah, that's what I thought too. Okay. But she also points out that if they discovered this, probably it was an accident, same as us. So there might be a record of, unexpected explosions somewhere. And maybe that's even how they're going to start the ash mounts, Wax says. It's like you shove a big old bomb in there. Maybe that'll light it up again. Who knows?
Now, I have to interject here. I know this has come up in like most of the previous episodes, but this is full Austin Powers right here. We're going to drill the nuclear weapon into the Earth's crust, and then every volcano on Earth will erupt. Like, wow.
Yeah.
How do we get so much Austin Powers out of this book?
Autonomy
Also,
is just Dr. Evil. It's
but yeah. Also, they're stealing our shtick in the book. They're making predicaments, and I don't appreciate it.
I didn't consider that. Yep, they're predicting things. We obviously have the monopoly on predicting.
I mean, yeah.
And I like the sweet moment where Steris starts thinking about like Alec and Marisi, and she's like, you know what? I've been spending more time with Marisi lately, and I like it. It's nice. We didn't always have the best relationship as children. Their father, who is now retired to a country estate, and I was like, that's probably the best place for Lord Harms, right?
Yeah, I'm imagining him out there, like, on the country estates, like, get these damn kids off my lawn. And it's like, sir, those are birds. Get out of here.
He's gonna pull out that gun that he bought. I'll get those
So
birds.
He's like, this gun almost blew away a Mistborn. Get out of here.
Like, sir, would you please stop shooting the pigeons? You can't tell me what to shoot.
I'll be whatever I want to do.
Oh, and then while Wax is over examining the box, he blows up again.
As you do.
As you do, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like this explosion, based on later descriptions of how he's feeling, is definitely more than just like your normal average explosion. I think he's been affected in some way.
It's possible, but also, as he points out, he's just getting older, and being exploded takes more out of you than it did when he was younger. And I like her first thought is like, oh man, his nice vest. Like, she specifically gave him the heavy, like, to put over the vest, and it's just been charred and ripped by this explosion.
Yeah, well, she's planned for it. She's got a second vest just up top in case.
Must be.
Yeah.
And she thinks like getting exploded when you're 20 is way different from being exploded when you're 50. I don't know that she knows that for sure, but I believe it.
I mean, yeah, she can't be wrong. I mean,
and he's just like, yeah, you said something about secondary explosions. It's like, yeah, it was on my list. And so yeah, he was trying to gather the harmonium, and there was a reaction, unfortunately. And it's the end of the chapter is her really sweet like internal thing about when she married Wax. She said that she wasn't going to stop him from being who she was, or who he was rather.
yeah.
Yeah, like that section there is just Steris to a T, and it's just the best thing ever.
Yeah, it was very this and the portion later where she's talking to him about like, you don't have to be this or the other. You can be this one person. That personally hit home for me a lot. So I really appreciate Brandon kind of putting this kind of love, this kind of relationship in a book. It's very real, and I think he did a really good job. It resonated with me very, very strongly. So I this portion and that next portion especially. So I think it was really cool and really well done.
Agreed.
Yeah, the interesting line to me is where she's like, it's less frightening to be shot at with Wax than to sit at home and wonder if he was being shot at. And I was like, that's love. And then he tries to be part of her world too by spending time with her, doing finances, all that stuff that he really hated before, but it almost seems like he's getting kind of into these things, the politics and the everything like that.
I think it's much like his marriage to Steris itself. At first, he started doing it out of obligation, but then, like, as time, he realized he genuinely did enjoy those things, and so, in effect, like, he enjoyed being with her. So, it's, just an extension of that.
I also appreciate, and I think just to speak more to what Dak was talking about, I think Wax is very good, eventually that is, at finding enjoyment in like almost any activity. Like, he has his things that he really likes, shooting guns, doing experiments. But I think given the opportunity, like, to just see something from a different perspective, I think sometimes he's pretty good at finding enjoyment in things in general. So it's kind of a cool trait, I feel like.
Yeah.
Just before we move on from Steris as well, one thing I'm going to bring up, because it happened to me last night and it was funny. I was just in Instagram and just hit the search function, was randomly scrolling through like whatever memes were in or images were in just the search function, and as I'm scrolling, I realized, my phone has finally clued into the fact that we're doing Sanderson related stuff. Maybe because I looked at our page on Instagram, because it started recommending memes based on the Cosmere to me, and I only know this because I didn't click on it. But there was a meme that popped up. It was the meme from Invincible with the dad going, "Look at what they need to imitate a fraction of our power," and all I could see was over his face was the name Steris. I'm like, staying away from that one.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Like, oh crap, Instagram's finally caught up.
Now I want to try to find this exact meme about Steris. It may even be like last night I added. Or no, maybe it was today. I mean, it might have still been last night for you. But anyway, I realized that a lot of fun pages were following our Instagram, but our Instagram was following almost nobody. And I was like, you know what? Let's return the love and follow some of these like Sanderson fans or Sanderson people who post a bunch of those memes and stuff. So I added a bunch of. I followed a bunch of accounts from our account this morning or something. So.
Maybe that's why it threw it in Dak's algorithm.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
Be. And so Marasai and Alex sit down, and he's chewing gum, and it says that chewing visibly was a cultural taboo for him, which she finds odd because it's like, shouldn't eating be the one thing you lift your mask for? Which, yeah, that occurred to me too. I was like, did they like lift their mask, stick some food in, and then put it back down to chew? Like that seems like a pain in the butt.
Yeah, whatever, man. Their culture.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I ate during COVID, so they can do it.
Yeah, okay, fair point. And we find out that from Alec that the new ambassador is Dahl the Primary. He is very well respected by the hosts, capital H hosts. And Marasai has to explain to Wax, no, respected by the hosts, that means he was successful in war. And they're like, oh, okay, so he's like a warrior... a war leader guy. That's not good.
Turns out he's the reason that all the other tribes have united into the Malwish Consortium. He went down there and just beat everyone up.
Could be. And Alex says that it's not exactly a threat, but if the consortium has finally been achieved, the 5 nations agreeing to put a common face northward, then it's a symbol. They send you their best and they want you to know it. And I love him calling Wax adjective Waxillium. He's like, I can't come up with names to throw in there anymore, so you're adjective. They want you to know they will not be bullied. And so apparently leaving the bands of mourning behind in the last book is kind of a big deal down south. Alec tries to explain it. He's like, it's like we left you with the body of our dead father. A body that is also a powerful weapon. No one was happy about this. And then Wayne comes in and goes, you all got blowed up and you didn't wait for me? And Sarah says, Waxillium got blowed up. The rest of us merely witnessed it. I think he did it on purpose to annoy you. See, as opposed to that previous section that had the weird Steris line where he's like, oh yeah, explosions happen around Wax or whatever. This feels like how Steris would talk about it. It's like, Waxillium got blowed up. And Wax goes, I've been reminded quite profoundly that I'm at least 2 decades past prime exploding age. Now I'm trying to think, when exactly is prime exploding age? I got to make sure that I'm not there any longer. I don't want to do any exploding.
23.
Okay, that's fine.
Your risk of being in an area where you're going to explode, though?
I guess you never know. Probably not nearly as much as Wax.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd hope not.
No. I hear Jane's voice from Serenity. I don't want to explode. And then Marisai is like, glad you're back, Wayne. We need a plan. And then he's just like, yeah, I'm glad to be back. Being fifth in the room is what every feller wants. He's still, it's just been a couple hours since his breakup, so he's not. He's still a little bit sad.
Yeah.
Are you still on about that? She called you a great shag. Get on with your life.
I like Marisai saying that she keeps telling Reddy that they need a specialist team, like a squad specifically for dealing with Metalborn. But he keeps resisting. I think he considers us that squad.
Which, look, not unfounded.
I mean, yeah, she did just kill a guy with 4 different metal powers today or something. So still, I feel like you should get extra pay or something if you're the special Metalborn squad.
Does special squad get special wages? No, not in the budget. Damn.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
That's why he doesn't have to worry about it, because they'll just do it.
That's true. It's not like they're going to let it go. Vendel comes back, and he says that Harmony is worried. Trellium has a repulsing effect on other forms of investiture. But doing it like you did created what he called an invested matter-energy transference. That's bad. But it comes with a free Frogurt.
That's good.
The Frogurt is also cursed.
That's bad.
And Wax is like, so did he seem surprised? And Vendel's like, I don't know actually. And he asks Wax if Wax got his note. And Wax is like, yeah, I think he wants me to make an earring out of Trellium. And Marissa's like, why would he want you to do that? I don't know. And did we establish before? He says, I think he's trying to get me interested since I ignored his last couple of invitations. Is this the first time we're finding out that Harmony has been trying to communicate with Wax and Wax is just ignoring him? Because that seems like a bad idea.
It didn't sound unfamiliar when I read it, but now that you've said it, I don't know how to happen.
I feel like it has come up.
Okay. It's just, it doesn't, it's like if God's like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? And you're like, nah, I'm good. Seems like a bad plan. But and then Wayne drinks some tea straight through the nozzle of the teapot.
Classy.
Yeah, very.
Marisai is scandalized because he's putting booze in. It's like, who spikes tea?
He's had a rough day, okay?
Yeah.
Wax tells them, okay, Marisai, you and Wayne and Vendel, you go do your sting in Bilming. Steris and I were gonna do research to find out if we can find any examples of explosions, maybe of the set discovering the explosive properties of this stuff. And Marisai's a little bit disappointed that Wax is not going to come along. But she's like, I can't make him, and he is getting older, so. And then Wayne is going to go listen to the fellows in prison, maybe so he can get his Bilming accent down or whatever, and invites Vendel to come along so I can give you some tips on your accents. And Vendel's offended by this, and he's like, I have hundreds of years experience doing impersonations, And Wayne says, yeah, and every time I've seen you, you sound snide and upper class. He's like, I guess Harmony did directly order me to be about this. Field work is so distasteful.
I don't remember him being this much of a snob. I knew he was a bit of a snob, but now he just sounds like Silver Spoon Blob.
Really?
I don't know.
I always kind of felt that way about him. I don't really like the guy.
I
I don't
thought
think
he
we're
was.
supposed to.
I thought he was kind of a smart ass, but I didn't think he was like an elitist.
Should hear him in the audiobook.
What does he sound like
Yeah.
there?
Just very snobby.
That makes sense, I guess, given this
Very-
this one interaction.
Yeah. I was like, man, I want to punch you.
Does he sound like someone who fact checks other people's jokes?
Yeah, probably.
That line still sticks with me from last time. I was editing it, and I like Dak calls out. It's like, you're married to someone who would do that, Wax.
I mean, I thought Vandal was quite funny earlier. I guess it was really more Steris's moment earlier in these chapters when he's still bugging Wax for his skeleton. Wax says, and it's not for sale. And Steris like, mine is. And they're just like, oh, really? Okay.
Fine.
Yes, that is a great bit
And
where
of
she's
course-
like, I mean, why do I need it? I'd rather have the money.
Yeah, exactly. It's always practical stairs. It's like, I mean, the money would be better to have now. I mean,
Yeah.
It's gonna put our kids through high school.
Steris is, yeah. I mean, I might well
No,
have that same attitude if I was in this situation. I'm like, I mean,
Well-
yeah, after I'm dead, do what you want, I guess.
My God, the terrible like joke that just popped into my head was just like, you can have a moment where Max is in high school and he has no idea what he's saying. It's like, oh yeah, my mum sold her body to put us through school.
Oh no. Oh. Yeah. I mean it is also a little bit weird because like Steris and Wax are rich, so you
Yeah.
don't really need the money, but I mean free money, why not?
yeah, I mean, you can't ever be too rich, am I right?
It's the line from Futurama that the professor has after Bender sells his body. Yeah, Bender, I've been down that road. I know it's glamorous and the parties are great, but you'll end up spending every dollar you make on jewelry and skin-tight pants.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah. That's not the professor in I'm not even gonna we're just gonna move on. Okay.
Fire indeed hot.
But yeah, so there's I'm trying to see. Okay, so Marisai has been prepping. We skipped basically 3 days later for our very long chapter. As I mentioned last time, 19 is the longest chapter in the book. So the Wax says that it's been going well. They got good disguises. They've got actual boxes of supplies, and they've got a guy wearing the body of the actual leader of this group. So Steris and Wax have been looking through all of these broadsheets for these last 3 days, I guess. And they have to make it fun, so they call out like funny headlines to each other. Pickled pachyderm plays piano. Why do they always pick pachyderm? And he goes, because it's a funny word. So I guess they have elephants here. I mean, it makes sense. They have giraffes and stuff, but I don't know that we've ever seen or heard an elephant talked about.
Just imagine like Kolos riding into battle on elephants, facing off against the humans on giraffes.
That's a battle, all right.
Then the Kandra pop up on rhinos. Let's go.
The Kandra pop up as rhinos.
Oh, brilliant.
But of course, they don't like to kill people, so most of them anyway.
I mean, you can gore someone on a rhino's horn without killing him.
You'd be surprised what you can live through.
Yeah. You'd be surprised what you can live through.
Well, fine. They can have hippos instead. How about that?
But hippos are even more deadly than rhinos.
Yeah, but I feel like you probably got more control over their tusks than the horns of a rhino.
But here's the bit Joe was talking about, where Wax is having some weird side effects of the explosion that he doesn't want to tell anybody about. Like his vision behaving oddly and becoming distorted, or he thinks he's seeing allomantic lines when he's not burning his steel.
That's I don't feel like that's good.
There's a lot going on there, yeah.
I mean, yeah, potential brain damage is usually not good. So
I don't buy that it's brain damage because I mean we're talking about some kind of investiture related thing here, I think.
Oh, like what? Okay.
Well, I mean, if he's seeing random lines, I mean, I was going to say this for predicaments, but maybe that explosion injected some trellium into his body, which is not what you want.
Oh.
Like
no.
like some shrapnel. You know what I mean? So it may be Trillium in there, maybe Harmonium, it may be a weird mixture that's going to slowly poison him and make him sick. Like, you never know, man.
Yeah, I guess we have no clue what if you could burn Trillium or what it would do if you could burn it. So probably nothing good, right?
I mean, how would he burn it though? He can only burn one metal. He's not a Mistborn.
Well, but that was the thing about like Lerasium. Anyone could burn that, right? Because it was a god metal.
Right. It was a god metal. And the same thing for Trillium. Anybody could burn it.
Yeah.
Well, theoretically,
But,
I don't think we've seen
hang
anybody.
on though. Adium's
Right.
well, not everyone
Well,
can burn that.
And that was the thing that I think ends up being, because we discussed briefly, although I was like, it's not really a big deal, let's move past it, that not long ago Brandon had like a retcon where he's like, oh, that adium wasn't like pure adium, that was this adium mixed with something else, and so it wasn't really like what we saw in those books wasn't what like pure adium would do.
No, I completely forgot we had that talk.
And I think it may be because adium would be burnable by anyone because it's a god metal. That's my theory anyway. I don't know that it's actually been discussed. So that means that Trillium and Harmonium potentially could be burnable by anybody and could do who knows what. But, I mean, who would try to burn Harmonium when getting it wet makes it explode?
Oh, that's a good way to lose your lower jaw.
Yeah, right? You can lose a lot.
You go.
I was just like, you can suspend it in oil, so it can be in certain substances. Maybe it's just the hydrogen and oxygen in that specific combination for water that it reacts to. It doesn't say what substance is wetting it, because you can suspend it in an oil solution,
right,
without it blowing up. So there's got to be something to that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you suspended it in a solution and then like swallowed it and burned it really fast, you could burn it before it like exploded in your stomach or something. I don't know.
Wouldn't want to be the first one to try it.
No, because then what if you couldn't burn it after all? Like it turns out, oh, not everybody can burn this. Then you're screwed.
You're walking dynamite.
Yeah, no,
it's like you just down it and everyone's like, did it work? And the guy's like, I don't know. Did you ever see Alien?
So yeah, I didn't even. That's a good point, Joe. He could have gotten some of this stuff into him, and it might not be good.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I think somebody close to explosion, my immediate thought goes to shrapnel, because it's not the explosion that kills you sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you get Tony Stark and you get some shrapnel in you. That's no good.
And so they haven't found anything really solid to indicate that the set has discovered, which is why they're still looking, obviously, and calling out snake sneaks snoring snails. I have to admire them for committing to the gimmick. And Steris is like, do you wish you'd gone with Marcy and Wayne? And Wax is like, they'll be fine. They don't need me. And she's like, well, that's not what I asked. And this is when they have that discussion where it's like, you don't have to pick, like, you don't have to be this guy or that guy. You can be you, basically.
Yeah, and I've talked about it already, but this is just a really nice moment. It's like I've struggled with this personally in my life, like as being a part of a relationship or in a marriage, and it's like I don't have to, can I be me, or do I have to be the best husband, like this ideal husband? Do I have to be this ideal father, or can I just be myself? And it's been difficult to kind of figure out the balancing act between just being me, but then also living up to responsibilities that I have in my life. So, and I think that's probably something every adult struggles through, but Wax is taking this particular task on pretty late in life. And to have a partner in your life that tells you, it's okay to be you. I love you. I don't love, this husband that sits here and does finances with me just because that's what you do, like, because you do that with me. I love you. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I will support you no matter what your decision is on these things. And that's it was just very well written, and I think a really big testament, hopefully, to the kind of relationship that Brandon has in his own life. I don't know anything about the guy or his marriage, and it's none of my business, but hopefully that's the situation he finds himself in. I'm sure he would probably say that. I've only ever heard him say positive things about his wife and his family. So, but yeah, just really, really nice relationship here. Nobody's manipulating each other or anything like that. It's just really, really sweet.
His family did get up to leave in the middle of his talk, and he was like, "Wait, what's going on?" He was afraid they were like going to come up on stage and something was happening that he didn't know about.
He was like, "Oh, okay, you're leaving. Bye."
It's like, all right, see you later. You hear me talk enough, I'm sure. Given how much that guy writes, like how much time out of his life he spends writing, he must have like a pretty understanding wife there. Although I guess he was probably like that when she married him, so she kind of knew what she was getting into.
Somewhat like Steris and Wax.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. And so they start talking about he's like, this situation is so big. Like last year when Vendel asked me to go on a mission, it didn't feel this urgent, which is because Vendel asked you to go and recover like a spike from one of his friends. It wasn't like the world is going to end and the ash is going to return. This does seem bigger, yeah.
That wasn't last year. That was like 6 years ago.
Oh, that's true.
So what's he talking about? What's this one last year when Vendel offered him a mission?
Maybe that's when Harmony tried to contact him most recently. I didn't think about that. I just assumed that he was talking about, yeah, I misread that. You're right.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I misread the same thing. Did Brandon misread it? Did he mess up?
Might be a typo. Who knows?
In fairness, it's like in Bands of Morning, it's not exactly like Vendel offered him that mission. Like they kind of strong armed him into it.
He offered it first, and then Wax turned it down, and then he kind of,
Yep.
And so he's like, wait, we shouldn't be looking for accidental explosions. We should be looking for intentional ones, because if they discovered this thing, then they would have been testing it. And that's when they're like, earthquakes. And that leads them very quickly to some Bilming papers where there are reports of earthquakes starting a year ago, which officials went on to explain was them building an underground rail line like Elendel has. And he's like, but wait, like, why would Bilming want a subway? They have an elevated train system that they're always talking about, that they love showing off. And these explosions have been going on for 4.5 years, and they don't have a single line up and running. I think I said it started a year ago. It said starting years ago. Yep. So they've been working on a subway, quote unquote, for almost 5 years, and they don't have anything going.
Yeah, it's a pretty. What are the workers doing? Just hanging out?
But this actually has some more serious implications, I feel like, because, okay, let's say you're right, and these are them testing explosives. The government of this city is being like, oh, no, yeah, we're building a subway. So the set has the government covering for them, if that's the case.
Right. Yeah, I think we kind of figure out in the next chapter that it's like, oh, yeah, no, this entire city is under Trell's control. The entire thing. It's like good. down to Telson telling them what to build.
Yeah, like what their houses have to look like or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's when they go back to like, wait, all that stuff that Marasi found about them trying to test what they could smuggle into Elendel, they're going to bring a big ass bomb into Elendel. This is all bad. Okay. Although I feel like that's more trouble than you would need to go into. Like, the only thing that you should need to sneak into Elendel would be like maybe the Trellium and the Harmonium. You could build everything else in the city if you wanted to blow up the city.
I guess because they don't have Elendel's government under tight control as Bilming, it's probably easier to make sure they've got everything assembled correctly in Bilming and then just ship it out rather than trying to assemble it hidden somewhere in Elendel and hoping no one stumbles across you before you've got it ready.
Yeah, and you got people like Marasi and Wax hunting down set people in Elendel, so that's a good point.
Yeah.
And so Wax finally decides, okay, fine, this is a big enough deal that I'm going to have to talk to Harmony. And so he puts in the earring, and suddenly he's in a different place. He's staring at Harmony is standing there, a serene figure in traditional terrace robes, kindly eyes. And if you unfocus your eyes, Harmony seemed as vast as the Cosmere, 2 sweeping wings, one white, one black. Very, very kind of Sephiroth here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. And actually, it's funny. I was talking before we started recording that I'm currently playing Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion. One of the characters has a white wing and one of the characters has a black wing in the game. So it's very, very Final Fantasy adjacent here.
And Wax is like, oh, hey, last time I was here, I was dead. And Harmony's like, well, you were dying. You're right on the edge of death, which I feel like is where I live most of the time. But that redness that was surrounding the planet 6 years ago, not there anymore. He's like, oh, did you get rid of that? And Harmony's like, no. It invested the planet. It invested me. I responded too slowly. It is a failing that grows more dangerous in me. By the time I realized what was happening, it came over me. It doesn't hurt, it dampens my ability to see. So Trell has blinded Harmony to what's going on the planet, more or less. But it also affects his ability to see the future, so he can't see what's going to happen either.
I can't see the future. Oh, we both went there.
So he says that it'll only take him a few years to get rid of it, which is practically nothing on the time scale of gods, and yet the danger is now. And so
Dr. Manhattan thing, like, hang on, something's blocking me from seeing the future. What the hell is this?
Yep.
Huh.
But he can see what Wax sees and learn what Wax learns because they have a connection. And he's like, I thought we had more time, and I realize only now that I've been moving too slowly yet again. Too slowly. And so Wax is just like, look, if I'm going to stop the guy, I need to know who he is. And so he asks, he's like, Harmony, who is Trell? And Harmony says, well, Trell is the god Autonomy, what we call a shard of Adonalsium.
Boom.
Yeah, just like, oh, okay, answers. All right, awesome.
Yeah, even Wax is shocked. He's like, oh, you're just telling me.
Autonomy is held by a woman named Bavadin. Her many different faces or avatars act with independence. Trell, a male god, can be considered one of these.
So I guess that means that given Trell was a thing in the previous trilogy, that means Autonomy's had her attention, at least in this area of the Cosmere, including Scadrial, for a long-ass time now.
Yeah, or at least she had the foresight to put a seed in place for potential use later.
Oh, like Ego in Guardians 2.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that comparison, but yeah, literally, he was putting those seeds. Yeah, okay. And he did that because he wanted everything to be him, which is kind of seems Autonomy's thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's Ego. Got it.
Female Kurt Russell.
He says you rarely get to speak to Autonomy herself. She speaks through her avatars. Sometimes those are pieces of herself that have gained a semblance of self-awareness, and sometimes she chooses people and gives them some of her power. And we found out at the end of the last book that she decided to destroy this world, but now she's been persuaded to let it persist as long as it can be controlled. And he says that last year, Autonomy gave me an ultimatum. As my blinding was taking effect, she demanded I give her this world and move to another. Which, that's bold.
Well, and given what we find out about her later, I don't think she would have just let him move to another planet, because she doesn't like the effect of him holding two shards allows whatever world he inhabits to develop too quickly. So, and that's what she's afraid of. So it doesn't really make sense that she'd be like, just move to a different planet. It's like, no, she wants to. That's not gonna work.
Yeah, she's like, if she's talking about destroying this planet because it's a threat to her, then that's got to be because of Say's influence.
Maybe.
Like, why else would she be attacking it while Say's is in charge?
Yeah, because I mean, he could just go create humans with the same capabilities to develop as the ones on Scadrial. Now, maybe she's thinking, well, now I'll have control of this one, so I'm on even footing. But really, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, given what we learn in the next chapter, she's already ahead. I don't know that it would even be an even matter because, well, we'll get there. But my thing is, I don't even know that he could really disinvest himself from this planet, because we found out that preservation gave more of himself to make the humans self-aware or whatever here. So Sazed is kind of deeply invested in this planet. Ruin and preservation, we think, created this planet. That's at least what Chris theorized when we read the essay on this system. So I don't know that he can just go off and leave it to somebody else.
Yeah,
if he wanted
blood and sweat is in this place.
But yeah, I mean, he wasn't going to say yes regardless, so moot point maybe. And so one of the last things he saw was the person Autonomy has chosen as her avatar, and it is Wax's sister.
This is an interesting note that she was the leader of the set. I know that she's, like we said, she's the one who recruited Mr. Soup, but I didn't realize she was in charge of the whole thing.
Maybe she wasn't the last time we saw her.
Oh, okay.
Because this, what does he say?
It says the leader of the set.
Well, no, I mean, he says Autonomy offered me an ultimatum last year as my blinding was taking effect. So that's 5 years after the last time we saw her. She could have risen.
Oh, yeah, okay. Good point.
Especially since we saw Autonomy kind of culling some of the set at the end of the last book.
True.
And so he's like, oh crap, I'm going up against Telsin and she's gonna have like god powers or something. That's not good. And Wax is like, you're only telling me now? And Harmony's like, I contacted you a year ago. You just didn't want to talk to me, and I was trying to respect that.
The narration is just like, damn.
Damn, yeah, that's the. And at this point, when I was reading this for the first time and recording my reactions, I was just like, Harmony, this isn't like your ex-boyfriend that you're like, oh, I wanted to respect your need. This was the fate of the world. Maybe this is more important than like, oh, I wanted to respect your desires.
Yeah, it's definitely an oversight.
He says, Wax, it is time again. I need a sword. And he asks, like, do they know about like Marasi and Wayne's plan? Are they in danger? And Harmony's like, well, I'm blind. Like I told you, I can't see. I don't know. I wish I could. I've tried to handle this in other ways and I've failed. So I've come back to the one weapon I've always been able to rely upon. And he gives us an interesting, this may be information we're already aware of, but he says that shards have what we call an intent, capital I, a driving motivation. I have two of them, to preserve and to destroy. Autonomy is driven to divide off from the rest of us and go her own way. She pushes her followers to prove themselves and rewards those who are bold and survive against the odds. Which this very much sounds like survivorism to me. I almost feel like Autonomy and Kelsier could be buddies.
Maybe they are.
That's true. They could be.
Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy. This is very intriguing, very interesting. And it's so funny because you get two different like aspects of personality here. That thing that Harmony says, like she rewards those that do well. And my immediate thought was when he says that, what does she do to those that don't? And then, Marasi is the one who actually asks that to Moonlight and is like, what do they do to the that don't? Oh, they're not bad stuff. It's just kind of funny. It's like Wax doesn't think to ask, but Marasi does.
Mm-hmm. Well, Wax is very concerned about Telsin, basically. He's just thinking of, well, she's going to have god powers. This is not good. I don't like her. She tried to kill me.
So she was already insufferable to deal with, and now she's god.
Well, technically, she's opposing gods. That makes her Satan.
And then Harmony mentions, also, Autonomy has an army from off-world mobilized to invade and destroy everyone on this planet if Telsin doesn't succeed in what she's doing.
Yeah. So just the usual stuff. No big deal. I didn't think that was necessary to mention before this point, but here it is.
So either Elendel gets, like, magic nuked or an army invades to kill everyone. This is not... Column A and Column B are both bad.
Yeah, we definitely thought, well, I mean, it's the last book in this era. There's got to be some, like, world-ending type stuff possibly happening. And, yeah, sure enough, here it is.
And then we finally ask about the Trillium earring, which is what I was like, I want to know about this. And he says that he talks about Vin a little bit, but he's like, basically, the Trillium spike will connect you to Trell's avatar, like you're connected to me. You will be able to sense her, and she will be able to sense you. And Wax goes, I don't know if that's a good idea. She always gets the better of me. I don't know. I should not play her games.
And the dumb place my mind went to when this happened? I'm just like, Wax, don't you put the spike in. Give it to Wayne and let him get inside Telsin's head. That will drive her fucking mad.
Let him annoy the crap out of her.
Yeah.
That's
It's like it's like in the Joker's Revenge or Joker's Return when in Batman Beyond when he's like, oh, well, I like making quips. And then, like, Joker gets annoyed. He's like, hey, this isn't the Batman I know. You can't make jokes. That's not fair. That's not your thing. That's my thing.
I love that movie, actually.
That was a great movie.
Return of the Joker, by the way, is the name of it. And like, Harmony's just like, I mean, yeah, use the earring, don't use the earring. It's a tool that I made for you to use. So whatever you want to do with it. And then he says that I've lost games over and over again against Autonomy, but I still have help I can send you. Some do not realize I was behind their mobilization. So he's got help, and I guess from multiple sources, because I guess some of the help he's sending does know that it's from him, and some doesn't. And so he says, will you be my sword again? And Wax goes, is it absolutely necessary? And Stace goes, I mean, it depends on how you feel about your sister taking my place as this planet's steward. And Wax says, wait, that could actually happen? And Stace says yes, and Wax is just like, damn, again. And so he disrupt Telson's plan and autonomy will abandon her. That's our best bet. And the Wax's like, but what about the army? He's like, well, we'll have to hope that we have time to stop them after we stop your sister. This is not a great plan.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, one thing at a time, dude.
Who knows if we have time for one thing at a time, though?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you should just like, oh, well, we can't focus on Telson because we've got to worry about the army, because then Telson's still got her thing. Like,
That's
Telson's
true.
the more immediate threat. So it's like, yes, you need to prepare for the army, but you still need to focus on her because she's coming sooner.
Wax sees Harmony differently in this moment as someone doing their best while being crushed between opposing powers. He needs help, and I'm all there is. And the conversation ends with, like, is there anything you're not telling me? And he says, well, a lot of things, actually. Will any of them hurt, like what happened with Lessie? He's like, well, not on purpose, but I can't promise you'll survive, or that if you do it, will be without pain. And then it says, God asked, do you trust me? And Wax says, no, but I trust her less. That's sad, but okay. And I understand why he wouldn't trust him, but I still like Sazed, so it's sad. And let's see. In the meantime, he comes back to Steris, and he's like, I'm gonna have to go. I'm sorry. And she's had his mist coat laundered for him, which is good because it had that stinky bun in the pocket for who knows how long. And then there's a knock at the door, and he goes out and finds 16 metal vials. One of them with red paint that says, use the others instead of your normal vials, and use this last one only in emergency.
Yeah, which I was like, I don't know if this was from Harmony. I feel like Harmony would have just said, oh yeah, I'm sending you some stuff.
He said he was sending help.
Yeah, but the fact that the person didn't stick around to like say, hey, here's this stuff from Harmony, that, and the letter doesn't say dash Harmony or something like that. It's like that kind of perturbs me.
I mean, could anyone else have known that he was about to head out on a mission? He didn't even know until he talked to Harmony.
Telson,
I guess
set something up.
It's possible.
Yeah. I don't think it's the set. I think it might be our new friends, but who knows?
The diamond logo people.
Does he still have the earring in?
Oh, the Harmony earring?
Yeah.
Did it say he took it out? Let's see.
I don't think it does.
No, it doesn't mention it.
Because I mean, in Alloy of Law, when he found his trunk full of all his guns and stuff, like Harmony's just like a "you're welcome" in his ear. Like you'd think Harmony could have done the same here.
It's true. Okay, and so yeah, I guess who knows? It'll be these are good or bad vials, one or the other.
It's actually just cyanide.
He pulls out a strong box with 2 fully aluminum pistols from Renette, Vindication 2 and the Steel Survivor, which, okay, these are cool names. And he's even got some rounds designed with secondary explosions for dealing with hemalurgists, which that's badass.
Nice. Makes me think of like the Avengers when Loki catches the arrow and just looks at it condescendingly, then it literally explodes in his face.
Yep. Let's see. There's more in the box, including Renette's most deadly design, which he decides not to take with him, which is a huge disappointment to me. I'm just like, but the deadliest. Why would you not take that?
Because he's not a soldier. He's a lawman.
Come on. And I also like that he has a belt with a pouch lined in aluminum for holding his metal vials, so they can't be pushed away from him in the middle of a fight. That's really smart. And then he tells Steris that she's going to have to take care of the Senate and the governor while he's gone, because this is not a good time for him to leave with the new ambassador and all the stuff about to happen, especially if a bomb is on its way to the city. And she's like, I mean, we could ask somebody else. I'm not good with people. I'll just mess it up. And he's like, I think that you're absolutely the best person to represent our house. And she doesn't know if she can do it. And he tells her that he believes in her. And that's enough for her. She's like, okay, I'll do it. If you really think this is the best, then I'll try. And then here's Max. Why aren't you in bed? Because I'm in here. Which, yeah, that's a very little kid thing to say. I like that. And he's like, you need to go fight monsters if I can find them. And Max says, you can. You're the best detector that ever lived. Uncle Wayne told me.
No.
He said you can find any treasure there ever was to be found. And then there's the cheesy and sweet bit where he's like, I've already found the best treasures, Max. Now I have to keep them safe.
Bum, bum, bum. The more you know. Or, some kind of sweet thing.
And that's the end of part 1, which was a very dramatic and cool way to end part 1, I feel like. And so we got one more chapter left, but first we have another broadsheet page. Beloved editor still missing. It's been 8 days since our editor's husband and children pled for her safe return.
And this mayor don't fuck around.
No, right? Yeah. Says something against the mayor, and so she vanishes, which is just that's not the way that you want a city to be working.
No, this guy sucks.
And then there's an ad for Vif Sparkle Tonic, which it's Vif with an exclamation point. I know the diff, give me Vif.
Oh boy.
Oh God, what a terrible tagline.
I thought it was funny.
And then there's the thing about the underground railway that's being constructed. It does seem so bad. Initiated over 4 years ago with a bloated budget that rusts the metals of every filming taxpayer.
That's good. You know, I appreciated this broadsheet purely for the fact that this was one of the ones at the con.
It's true.
Oh,
it
cool.
was. Yeah. Because there were, the broadsheets from each of the book were there. I have all 4 of them around here somewhere. But owner of soothing parlor grateful for public agitation. I like that note. That was.
I do think maybe I should adopt that phrase into everyday life. You know, if something goes wrong at work, I'm just like, oh man, they're really rusting my metals right now.
But my absolute favorite section of this is Allomancer Jack settles with Sidekick. Apparently there was a lawsuit or something between Jack and Handerwim Terraceborn.
Which is just the best thing ever.
So Handerwim says that Allomancer Jack skimmed his stakes in the company to invest in new media ventures, which did not pan out apparently. And Jack's quoted in here is like, "Oh, this was always my intention, to train dear Handerwim in the ways of greatness and then cut the apron strings."
This is like, and then when they get his follow-up reaction, it's like the most kiff he's ever. He's got like, I just imagine his head on his hand on his head, like, yeah, no, that's not what happened.
When asked for comment, Terraceborn just closed his eyes and sighed. Yeah. But the best part is the end, where it's like more details on back. Why the judge let Jack keep the tiger?
See, in our paperback that we have here, it cuts off after the T, so I couldn't see what Jack was keeping until you mentioned that.
Yeah, I think we don't get the full copy.
No.
That's sad.
I mean, it's enough of a story that you can piece it together, but yeah, Tiger was new to me.
Yep.
That's the story I desperately want, this tiger, and how it's involved in all of this.
I'm also really concerned by this picture immediately below that story, which I guess the picture must be connected to the haunted, like the villa story next to it. That is clearly a pterosaur.
Yeah, right? You just get the top of the picture, but yeah, I believe that, well, since the haunted man is mentioned right there, then yeah, it's connected to that other story.
Yeah. But I'm just like, fucking, who's riding a pteranodon or whatever it is?
This is a good question.
Also, the fuck did Says do to the ecosystem? Oh yeah, I'm gonna put some elephants here, some giraffes over here, and fucking thunder lizards in the sky. Let's go.
So what you can't see is the headline of that little section, which is called Flight of the Ornosaur. So I guess that's what that's called. I don't know. But
okay.
You get a little more of that in the next section of broadsheet. So our last chapter is chapter 20. Marisai gets some sleep in the truck, and her driver is a woman, not terribly talkative, so she kind of dozes off. But when they get to town, when they get to Bilming, which is a chief port for trade with the southern continent, so it says that most of the trade with the south is being handled by ocean ships and not airships, which kind of surprised me. But I guess it kind of also makes sense. They probably have more ocean ships than airships.
I was gonna say, it's like, yeah, like the Ellendale part of society doesn't have airships aside from what they've built, which would be very minor, whereas they have more control over boats. So,
well, and even the Southerners use ships because of that. We had that section where Alex like, oh, don't confuse us with like normal sea sailors. I forget exactly what he calls them. He talks about how like exclusive and elite the airmen are. So Bilming is a big old city. The one city in the basin that can legitimately rival Ellendale, she says. And they're in the middle of uber development because while she's passing through some neatly laid out suburbs, she can see the huge swaths of lands already set out to be filled. And in downtown in the distance, you can see the half-finished pillars of skyscrapers. rising up like the mythical spires of Critic Shaw. It's not what I would want to impersonate if I was them, but maybe that's just her imagining.
I mean, it could be a statement from Trell.
It's true. And the driver starts talking as they're passing through all these buildings and billboards that Marasai describes, but we don't need to go into necessarily. And it's like, you ever notice how kids always draw houses the same way? And then talks about how kids draw houses. And Marasai's like, I guess that's interesting, Constable. What's your name? I go by Moonlight. We like code names. It's one of our things. And Marasai says, I have never heard that word before. And I don't know that we'd even talked about the fact before, but Scadrial does not have a moon. So obviously she would not know what Moonlight means.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd even thought about it.
Yeah.
But
I thought we did, because when we did the essay, there was like that stellar map of the system, and there was no moon on it.
We may
might
have briefly touched on it, but my question is, are their tides way weird, or like how does that work?
Yeah, maybe they don't have tides. And that's what Moonlight says is, oh, you wouldn't have heard that since you have no moon here. And then she reveals her tattoo, a tattoo just above her wrist of that same symbol, the Mitsubishi logo, as Dak said.
I was gonna say, yeah, she works for the automotive company.
And Marasai immediately starts to go for her gun, and the woman's like, no, you don't need that. And Marasai's like, where's the constable who should have been driving this truck? What did you do to her? And she's like, nothing. She's fine. But I find it amusing that's the first thing you ask. I mean, I get it, but maybe get your priorities straight, Marasai. Which is just so condescending. And it turns out that this is the lady that Marasai saw in the cave. She gives her a little test by, like, flubbing the color of the mask she was wearing. And she's like, are you human? 100%. I'm not a local, though. And so it says that she has a straight black hair and a ponytail, and uncommon features, a shape to the eyes that Marasai has never seen, with prominent cheekbones.
Yeah, this made me think, especially because she keeps talking about art, it makes me think that she came from the world where we read the short story from.
Which short story?
The one with the art.
Emperor's Soul?
Yeah. That.
Oh, Cell.
So from Cell.
Yeah, the same planet as Elantris. That one. Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting for some reason that's the same planet.
Because
yes.
it's in a very different part of the planet.
They were so isolated from each other.
Yes. So yes, from the Elantris planet, because the description, and then she keeps talking about art. I feel like that's got to be where she's from.
I hadn't thought about that, but that makes 100% sense. I'm on board with this.
That was not my first thought here, but that makes sense what you're saying.
Well, yeah, you have more information than we do, so maybe it wasn't your first thought, but it's mine.
And so Moonlight talks about how much she hates building. It's all the buildings have to be individual, but the way it comes together is too deliberate and makes it feel hollow. And she says, Mare says, well, why do you think that is? Well, because of Trell's influence, obviously. And Mare says, like, oh my gosh, tell me, please. Like, you clearly have some information I want. Give me. And she kind of does. I mean, at first she's like, I mean, we don't always share our secrets with outsiders, Mare, so I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. Just the fact that we've gotten so many characters that are forthcoming with information, it's like it's shocking. It's like, oh wow, I'm getting things. This is okay.
Yeah.
And Marasai threatens to arrest her, and she's like, man, cops are so similar regardless of planet. Like she does not like cops apparently either.
Yeah. Well, then she talks about stealing art later, and I'm like, yeah, this sounds exactly like this lady from Cell that we read about.
Maybe that's why she knows. Maybe that's why she knows Hoyd. Because he's the reason she was in jail.
Maybe.
He was. Yep. He was the Imperial fool back there and got her arrested.
Yeah, so could this be her? That
made off with the moon scepter, as I recall.
Maybe she chased him down and then like she got recruited on the way. It's like, no, don't kill him. We need him alive, but just you follow him and you keep tabs on him for us.
It's funny you say that, because when at the end of that story, she's like, and now I'm going to chase down the Imperial fool and get him back.
Well, yeah, that's why I said it.
At the time, we were like, good luck with that. Like, Hoyd's like, you're going to have a lot of trouble doing that. But yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem that mad at him now, if this is the same person. But I mean, she could have already gotten her revenge in some way. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, she may have gone looking for him and stumbled into something much bigger, because she identifies herself as some kind of group.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, so this other truck pulls up alongside them, and sure enough, as we were just talking about, Hoyd is the driver of the other truck, the truck with Wayne in it. And Moonlight says,
Wayne wound up with Hoyd.
Right.
Yeah.
Moonlight says, I can't tell these days if I'm watching him or he's keeping watch on me. Realistically, we're both just keeping watch on the same third parties. And Marisai's like, Hoyd? He's been in Wax's employ for years.
So yeah, it sounds like she's a part of something. It doesn't make clear if Hoyd is a part of something or if he's just an X factor that is aware of them, but they're still just keeping an eye on him anyway.
To me, it sounds like Hoyd's doing his own thing, but he shows up from time to time. But she's obviously aware of him, and like they keep tabs on Hoyd, or they try to, and she's under the impression that Hoyd is keeping tabs on them, or that they're at least all watching Scadrial, because for some reason Scadrial seems to be uber important to all these Cosmere people, and I assume it's now because there's two shards and one person in this place. That would be my assumption based on the information that we're given. But if this lady is human and she doesn't have like super special powers, then she can't possibly be know Hoyd all that well or be as old as Hoyd, because Hoyd has been around for a long time, because he was around in the first era. So
yeah, but so were people like Chris and she showed up in era 2.
That's true.
I don't know that they were.
She danced with Wax. And she was definitely around at the time of the first era, because we saw her in Secret History. So
yeah, I guess maybe they have super crazy magic.
I think maybe time just works differently on this planet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this Scadrial is Narnia. Hundreds of years here. It's actually just like 40 minutes back on Cell.
So the way she says it is, realistically, we're both just keeping watch on the same third parties. So that means that she's from one party, Hoyd is from another party. Whether that's a party of one, we don't know. And the third parties, well, it seems to me like Hoyd has been in Wax's employ for years. So unless he's keeping watch on someone else, but at the same time he's being Wax's driver, it sounds to me like Wax and company are who they are keeping an eye on, are the third parties in question. But I could be wrong.
I guess. I think it was just weird, like she shows up and instantly we pull a bit more of the curtain off of Hoyd here. It's like, that seems a bit too in sync, really, to be X Factor-ish, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out. He even gives her a nod. He's like, oh, hey, you're here.
Yeah, he's like, hey, what's up? They've both snuck in to be drivers of these trucks on the same raid. It's it's very
Yeah, it just like the both of them independently doing that with two of the main characters in their passenger seats sounds a bit too coincidental.
It does. Although what it tells me is that probably something big is about to go down in Bilming, and that's kind of worrisome, honestly.
Yeah, true.
And Marisai's kind of pissed off. Like, what the? I've been wasting time on bank robberies and shit. Well, this was right under my nose. Like, Hoyd's been driving Wax around for years, and I didn't know he was part of some big interplanetary thing. And then Moonlight goes into her whole shtick about how art is destructive, and she uses that to lead into, it's like, let's say you had one of 16 extremely rare pieces of art made by the same artist. How do you ensure yours becomes the most valuable? And Marisai's like, okay, if I play your dumb game, will you tell me about Trell? And Moonlight's like, well, that's what I'm trying to do. And so Marisai's tactic would be to create an air of mystique around hers. You never show it off. You let all the other 15 become so common so that people are just whispering, like, did you hear there's one more that no one's ever seen? And then suddenly that becomes like the big deal. And Moonlight's like, oh, that's actually pretty clever. I like that. Well, what would you do? I'd steal the other 15, and then I can manipulate the market however I want.
Which, Joe, now that you've said this could be Shy, like, makes you think, well, she was a thief, so.
Yeah, she was a thief and an artist, and like being a forger or whatever was like a super big thing in that world. So
yeah, like this is fitting more and more.
It's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, like stealing is exactly how Shy would probably go about this. And so she's like, Marisai, your planet holds two pieces of them. Like, this is a real thing. These pieces of art exist, and your planet's god holds two: ruin and preservation. That's right. So that makes Harmony the most valuable, the most invested being in the Cosmere. And one of the other 16 decided that the best way to improve his stock was to destroy all the others. And he managed it in a few cases. So, and she's like, wait, so that's Trell? Moonlight says, no, his name is Odium.
I'm gonna point out the only reason I knew Odium was a trait sort of description thing. It's not a word you come across very often, and the only reason I know it is because of Muppets Christmas Carol, and the fact and because that's the
Patrick
only
Stewart.
place what? No, it's Michael Caine.
Oh, my bad.
Michael Caine, dude.
I was thinking of the other one.
Yeah, but I just remember there's a few times in that movie, it's the only time in my life I've ever heard the word odious. And even as a child, I'm like, that's a funny word. What does that mean? And that stuck with me all the years. So as soon as the head odium came up, I just thought, oh, Michael Caine.
Odious is something I have heard as meaning, very bad or unpleasant.
I think it's hateful.
But
Yeah.
in my mind, and I don't know if this is at all true because I've never looked it up, in my mind it was related to an odor. This is odious as in like something that smells really bad is bad. This is bad. Like those two are related. And I don't know if that's in any way true, but that's the way I've always thought of it.
They probably got the same root word.
But yes, odium is essentially hatred. And Brandon has said that he used that word because hatred didn't sound like a cool name for a shard.
So she mentions here that Odium managed to kill a few of the other shards. I'm going to go out on a limb, assume that's what happened to Devotion and Dominion back on Cell.
So we know that those two are dead, so that would make sense. She says a few, which
Yeah.
I would think more than two. So if those are correct,
Oh, sure. I'm just going with the ones we know.
Right. No,
dead.
I was just like, in addition to that, if that's correct, if those were two of the few, then that means that there's at least one more out there that he's killed.
No, it means there's at least one more that isn't out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he's killed these holders of the shards, or he's destroyed the shards themselves. That's the thing that I'm not quite understanding. And maybe it's intentionally vague.
I vaguely recall we read somewhere that the powers on Cell, like Devotion Dominion, they got splintered and
that is the term. Yep.
blown apart or something, because that had something to do with that was the balls of light. What were they called?
Seance.
The
Oh,
Seance.
yeah.
And the like those dark balls that chatted ahoyed that one time.
The Skaze.
Like they were just like little offshoots of the power or something that gained sentience or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And my thought when hearing about Odium, based solely on the predictions that we've made about him and his general attitude, is that Hoyd is Odium, but I don't know that fits well enough for me to officially predict that. I don't know if it fits quite with his style.
I feel like given she brought this up while Hoyd is they only just talked about him, she probably would have pointed him out, like Odium, that guy.
I don't know. I feel like Hoyd operates too independently from an intent, because we've seen firsthand through Preservation, Ruin, and now Harmony that the intent is so strong within these shards that sometimes it's almost like they're compelled to do the thing that their intent is, and they're not really able to act independently enough from their intent. So I feel like Hoyd, based on the character that we've seen so far, is pretty independently motivated. Like, it doesn't seem, of course we don't get all that much of him, it doesn't seem like he's being compelled by anything like super obvious, but maybe I'm wrong.
He seems a little bit free to just kind of be where he wants to be. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, so even like autonomy, which you would think sounds like a really free thing, based on the description that we've heard so far, it sounds like she's really not. She's super compelled to spread herself out and create. And I think that's kind of what Moonlight's saying here. It's like it's an illusion of freedom. It's not even like it's I'm trying to think of a real world example. It's like the kids that, as a teenager, a lot of people want to stand out from the crowd and be themselves, but they also want to not do that. They want to fit in. It's like this kind of conflicting duality of like, I want to be free, but at the same time, I want everybody to think like me. So it's kind of weird. And I think that's the way I feel like autonomy is being described here.
In terms of talking about that intent, I mean, we did see in Secret History with Preservation, even to try to save the world, he couldn't stab Elend. Like, Kelsier had to jump in and like shove the knife. So yeah, you may be onto something there.
Yeah.
Although as far as Hoyd being like a shard of some kind, I don't know if we ever seen, and I mean we haven't seen that many, to be fair. So but have we ever seen like a shard just walking around being a dude that we know of at least?
No, but I mean, what is the manifestation of hatred besides man? Is that too deep?
That's very deep.
It's
but
very
okay,
deep.
To read the reference that Dak was making back in Arcanum Unbounded in the Cell System essay, Chris writes that it's difficult to determine for certain because at some point in the distant past, Both devotion and dominion were destroyed. Their investiture, their power was splintered, their minds ripped away, their souls sent into the beyond. So it sounds like both the people and the power, or the shard itself, was destroyed in some way. And we know that all of the investiture, the power that belonged to dominion and devotion, was dumped into the cognitive realm where it does not belong, and became the door, as they talk about in Elantris. Okay, sorry, going back. So Odium is killed some dudes, but Autonomy is different. And she's like, you see these buildings, all the houses, they're all pieces of a bigger art installation. But it's not even yours, because it's from a Taldane movement known as brutalism. And we've heard Taldane referred to once or twice in essays and stuff. It's another planet.
I was going to say, I thought that sounded familiar. Also, really leading into the whole joke I made about, oh yeah, Trell is just plagiarism.
Yeah, right? She really is just taking all sorts of stuff. And she's like, that's what I hate about Autonomy. It's this fake individualism, a corporate uniqueness, like advertisements that tell you to go your own way, be your own person by buying this product like everyone else. So Trell is trying to edge out the other gods. She, he, they, it varies, but they don't like engaging with other gods directly. We call them shards, by the way.
Yeah, catch up.
So Autonomy is trying to fill up the Cosmere with versions of herself and push everybody else out. And that's what she says. Trellism is the remnants of an ancient religion originally founded by Autonomy long, long ago, a seed for when she decided to move in. And so she tells her about how Autonomy's going to leave a piece of herself behind and find someone to take up that role. And Marasai goes, so she's role playing with herself? I was like, just Marasai play D&D? I don't know. And she's like, your planet is a primary target. 2 shards in residence, held by one person, frightens her. Also, you had gunpowder weapons and electricity before any planet in the Cosmere aside from her core homeworld. So whatever her core homeworld is I guess more advanced because they already had gunpowder and electricity before Scadrial. But
yeah, because her way is so much better because she's the best or whatever.
Scadrial, I guess we're finding out, is the second most technologically advanced planet in the Cosmere. So that's information.
Again, this is all running on the fact that this character is correct in everything that they're saying. But as we've talked about before, that's the easy backdoor for retcons later. Just like, yeah, the character didn't have all the info.
Yeah, there's another planet out there somewhere that's like spaceships and shit already.
Yeah.
Could be. And so she says that Telson has been chosen, which we already found out a minute ago. But Marasai goes, wax his sister, and then thinks, damn. So that's a popular thing for people to be thinking and saying these chapters. But Moonlight also says that with Autonomy, there's always rivalry within the ranks. Like, you have to prove you're the strongest to be in charge, or somebody else is going to put you out of the way.
Yeah, it's real survival of the fittest.
So the city is all designed by one architect that Telson promoted 5 years ago. So yes, she is so much in charge of this place that she can just choose who designs the city, basically. And this is where Moonlight points out, like, even if you go against what you're told with Autonomy, if you're successful, then you get rewarded. If you fail, it does not go so well for you. And Marasai's like, why are you even telling me all this? And Moonlight says, well, you've impressed my organization. We who defend Scadrial have to move very carefully. There are forces, including Harmony, that might crush us if we take the wrong step. So they're not exactly friends with Harmony, I guess?
Yeah.
And the Mitsubishi company is hardcore in this universe.
No joke.
Yeah. But what I found most interesting is what she referred to them as, we who protect Scadrial. So it's like, it sounds like this is a whole group that's sole purpose is to protect Scadrial.
That is what it sounds like.
Some sort of interstellar Illuminati.
And then they get into a discussion about art being reproduced, and Moonlight thinks that it's crass. And Mira says, like, shouldn't everybody get to enjoy nice art? And so it's just a little side note there. And Moonlight says she's not going to interfere, but it doesn't sound like she's exactly going to help either. She's just here to watch. And so she's like, so if bullets start flying, you're just going to sit here? And Moonlight's like, yeah, just consider me an external admirer of your work, interested in the quirks of those who follow the law and their value. So that really does sound like she's like, I don't follow the law. I'm interested in you weirdos who do. And then they pull up to the warehouse, and that is the end of our chapters. So yeah, that's a thing. I like Joe. I like Joe's idea. That I can fully admit that was not at all my thought when I got there, that could be shy. But you have pulled out a lot of really good connections that I'm like, well, I was dumb for not seeing those.
It fits nicely.
It kind of does.
Yeah, if not her, at least somebody, because we, in that short story, I feel like a lot of forgers are similar to her in
Yeah,
her way
maybe.
of thinking. So if it's not her, at least somebody like her for sure.
Yeah.
So maybe a forger from how you're talking, although
Yeah.
magic on Cell doesn't work well when you get the further you get from your homeland. So I don't know that any of that magic would work at all when you're this far from the door.
Yeah, unless they've learned some kind of new magic.
It's true. Or,
I
I mean, we saw the Elantrians in Secret History like piping in door energy to make their fortress or whatever. So
Yeah, pretty weird stuff, and they were on Scadrial doing that. So
okay, let's do predicaments, peoples. What's gonna happen? We got so much Cosmere information here. We got 2 new shard names. We got all sorts of stuff.
we got a lot of information because of that. I'm almost at a loss of like how to order it and come up with possible theories. But I feel like I've touched on some things during the show. I'll kind of reiterate some of that stuff. So I don't think, we talked in the past. I don't think the Bilming stuff is going to go well. I think bullets are going to start flying, and there may not be intercession by our new friends, because it sounds like she said she wasn't going to intercede on their behalf. So we'll see, I guess, how that goes. Now, no promises from Hoyd, but he usually doesn't intercede on stuff like this. So we don't know what he's going to do. He's the wild card in the situation for sure.
I don't know that we've ever seen him like get involved in stuff.
Yeah, not directly anyway.
Definitely not.
To a large extent. So I'm not sure that that's going to play out, but yeah, it'd be interesting if Hoyd was odium. Yeah. But I kind of don't think so, based on the personality traits that we've seen from him so far. But yeah, so I guess since we've gotten a lot of information about kind of the threat here, I think that I'm just going to start making predictions for what's going to happen as far as the whole Telson situation. So obviously we've set up for our heroes to converge in Bilming, because that's where Wax is going to go. Marisai and Wayne are already there, so I assume they're all going to team up, or at least he's going to pass. They're going to trade information, and he's going to go after Telson. And I think possibly, since the other two have met this, well, at least Marisai has met this off-worlder. Maybe them being impressed with her, maybe she's going to be tapped to try to take care of this army somehow. I don't know how that would happen, but since she's made the connection with somebody who's clearly not from their planet, it would make sense if they're impressed with her and they're watching her, that maybe they want to tap her to take care of some stuff. So maybe they'll go hunt the army or do something to prevent the army from coming. Because I don't think, my overall long prediction here is, I think Wax is going to be able to stop his sister, but I don't think that's going to in any way stop Autonomy / Trell, whatever, from trying to bring this army. So there's got to be some kind of contingent that goes and takes care of that. I don't think we can handle one thing at a time here. And if these people aren't in league with Harmony, the ones that Marisai have met, then they're obviously not the help that he intended, unless he did intend it and he just, in his natural Harmony way, was kind of like, yeah, I'll let this happen. So, that's kind of where I think we're headed. That's really as much as I've got. I don't have any concrete things, just because I'm kind of on information overload here, but really excited. I can honestly say I was not expecting all this information in these chapters. And I would say that when Brandon said at the con that he took the gloves off, he meant it. Like, this is, all, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of outside of Scadrial stuff. So really cool to kind of see this all kind of converge. I feel like it's kind of nice that we got to read this next, because we're getting to experience, I think, what a lot of fans of his are getting to experience, and we're getting to experience it at the same time. Like, a lot of people were reading this and thinking it's all starting to like weave together. At least that's the sense that I'm getting. So I'm excited for the possibilities of what that's going to mean, especially since we're possibly going to be introduced to people that from worlds we don't even know anything about yet.
Yep.
I think this girl's from Cell. She may not be, but we could be introduced to more people that aren't from Cell. So interesting, exciting. So I'm ready to read more for sure.
It's interesting what you said about, because Harmony specifically mentioned that some of the help he was sending didn't know that they were being sent by him. So if
Right.
he does know about this group, maybe they are part of the help. Maybe he's manipulated them without them knowing.
Right. Which, I mean, if they're acting on Scadrial before he lost his like powers, I don't see how he wouldn't know about them unless they have some way to hide from him. But I don't know.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, if they're wanting to defend Scadrial, they don't seem to like autonomy any more than Harmony does. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Certainly
they
not
would be
this
kind of
lady.
on our side.
Yeah. Well, if autonomy wants to destroy Scadrial, I'm pretty sure the people that describe themselves as the protectors of Scadrial would not want that to happen.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information to take in here, and I'm also finding it a little bit hard to sort of comprehend where things are going to go. We've talked about, we've got our kind of civil war, we've got our war with the people in the north, Malwish, wherever they are.
South.
Yeah, they're in the south.
They're in the south, yeah. And we've got obviously this interplanetary invasion thing coming, so there's a lot going on here. But I think I'm gonna, and Joe touched on it a little bit earlier, but my prediction's a little closer to our crew, well, a lot closer. Wax with the harmonium coming out of the safe, and now his vision going all funny, and these vials turning up. We're reading the Mistborn theories. Could Wax be a Mistborn? What if he's split he's split that, and that investiture has come out? Why couldn't the investiture of the Lurassium make its way into him here?
Oh.
Now he's getting some signs of some powers that he's not used to. Perhaps it's possible that Harmony knows, hasn't said anything, and is just like, hey, here you go, here's some vials. Try this one last. Perhaps the last one is the adium or something that will help him in the long term. But that's kind of where my mind went straight away when he was having sort of blurry vision and all that sort of stuff there. I'm hoping it's more a force for good than something bad happening to him. It could obviously go the other way if I'm thinking on those lines. There could be something about the Trellium there happening to him. I just think it would be weird. Well, I feel like it would be weird that it would work if it was the Trellium, that you'd also have to ingest and burn different metals. I guess it's possible being on Scadrial, but that just feels a little weird to me. But I'm hoping, seeing as we're in, book 3 of the second era of Mistborn, maybe we end up seeing a Mistborn again.
That's a really cool idea, actually. I hadn't even thought about the fact that it's book 4 of the second era, by the way. And
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know that.
It's Mistborn, and we haven't seen a Mistborn the whole time. Not even like somebody with enough spikes to make them into a Mistborn, basically. So the idea is that maybe some Lurassium did get created somewhere in there, and the explosion ended up with some in Wax. Is that what you're?
That's what I'm using. Yeah.
Interesting. So that, if he's a Mistborn, yeah, those vials could have like anything in them. There were 16 vials, like the 16 metals. So that could lead to all sorts of interesting stuff before this book is done.
It would. And he's already held the god power, so I don't know, maybe his body, because I thought about how Elend reacted when he became a Mistborn, and for him it was like instant.
Mm-hmm.
Even the metal, and he started healing, and that, like, he was good to go. But I don't know. I guess if you're exploded, maybe it has a different way of kicking in. I'm not sure.
So, okay, I'm trying to think how exactly it described what his odd after effects. I'm gonna have to go back to it. So I remember he was seeing lines when he didn't burn his metal, but you could explain that if he was burning iron instead of steel and not realizing it. Because you think he would recognize it if he was burning steel, right?
Well, yeah, that would be normal for him, I guess.
Yeah.
But if he's not burning anything, or if he didn't know he was burning anything, like when Vin was first, obviously she was burning her metal, she had luck. So luck. So obviously she was doing it on some level subconsciously, and again, Elend was starting to burn, what was it?
Pewter,
yeah. So he was starting to heal. So he could be burning something unconsciously if he's got enough of the trace metal in him already.
So the other thing that it says, he has two things. He was seeing the lines, and his vision was behaving oddly, distorting at times for just a second or two. So, are there any metals that could explain visual distortion? Don't.
Gold?
Oh, that's true. If he if another him popped up for half a second, yeah, okay.
Maybe just some disturbances.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be weird as hell. If you're like, was that me there? Just no, okay.
Man, that's the weirdest double vision ever.
Not distortion necessarily, but like your tin obviously has the clarity, but if it was too much, like if it's too much of something, you'd react as well.
Yeah, even if you just weren't expecting it and all of a sudden everything is way clearer than usual, it might seem very strange.
Yeah.
Or I guess adium, if you're seeing like shadows of the future or something real quick, then that would look really strange, right?
It would.
Okay, yeah, no, I like this. All right. We need a Mistborn. You're right. I hadn't even considered it, but you're right. We need a Mistborn in the Mistborn series.
I'm really not sure after I made that big one last week, which most of it already seems to have been just tossed in the toilet.
It always seems to happen to you like the very next episode.
Yeah. I mean, there's still some options there, like the whole, actually pursuing Hoyd idea that Trell is just following up on him because he's known to the shards. So I was trying to puzzle out as soon as we found out who Trell really was, their shard power. My mind immediately went to, okay, there's always a push and a pull in this universe. All the shards have sort of opposites. Like I'm still not sure if ruin and preservation can really be called opposites, but they worked in direct conflict to each other. So I'm just like, okay. And then on Cell there was devotion and dominion. So okay, does autonomy have an opposite working against her? And is that who's in charge of this organization? So I was like, all right, here along comes the shard of community. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I don't know if that like that's still a possibility for out there, but I don't think that's who's behind this faction that's interested in Marasai, because they say, no, we're protecting Scadrial. That's our thing. If it was a direct opposition shard to autonomy, then it probably wouldn't be like that shard wouldn't be like, oh yeah, Scadrial's my planet that I will defend, because I'm sure Sace would have words about that. So I think I might just fall back on, I think Kelsier is in charge of this organization that has recruited Marasai, like I brought up last time. I think, because that is definitely Kelsier's bag. It's like, this is my planet. Yeah, Harmony's the god, but I am here to defend it. Like, I'm actually, like, Kelsier was always the active one. So whether he's been running around the Cosmere and recruiting people to be in his little organization, like, because he likes having a squad. He likes having a gang.
Yeah, so he was always big on the crew. That's a good point.
So I could totally see him putting together another crew of like the best agents of the Cosmere to defend his homeworld. And so, yeah, I think he's still up to those shenanigans, and now he's picked Marasai as like the newest member of the group.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. When you're talking about an opposite to autonomy, I'm like, would Harmony be the opposite to autonomy? I mean, that's kind of... When you say community, it reminds me of Harmony, but that's not necessarily the same.
Well, I think autonomy is acting on, like, by yourself. Community is acting as a group. Just boil it down to its most simple functions there. So I think that could be a good contender, but who knows? But yeah, no, I don't think Harmony could really be in opposition, because Harmony already is two created in opposition.
It's true.
Like, mushed together. Like, Saze is the mashed potato of shards.
Mashed potato. Just as a note, someone did specifically ask Brandon if all the shards have opposites, and early on, and his answer was no, that ruin and preservation are not necessarily an example of how it works everywhere else.
Oh, okay. Well, throw what I just said out then.
It's not to say that, I mean, because you pointed out that Dominion and Devotion are kind of also opposites in a way, so it's possible that some other ones do, but not necessarily all of them.
Yeah, I guess it was I'm also thinking of, I think even Steris brings it up at the start of her chapter. Everything here is like metal and alloy, push and pull. Scadrial has the 16 metals that each one has its alloy, which does the opposite effect, or sort of. So that's just, it had my mind thinking in that term of that sort of binary. But all right, Brandon says otherwise. In the bin.
But that's, whether it's Kelsier or whoever else, another shard, whatever, that has created this organization, it makes you wonder, this person's clearly not from Scadrial. They told us that much. Whether they're from Cell, whether they're, a forger or whatever, wherever they're from, whoever they are, whoever started this organization get people from other planets so interested in protecting Scadrial?
Well, that was like Kelsier was always a charismatic bastard. He always found people and would find some way to convince them. Kelsier was very good at reading people. He could work out what it was they wanted and convince them that they would be able to get that by helping him. So he could still be doing that on a grander scale. Like I'm assuming that it's probably could be similar to a Vin situation. He found people who like were lost, alone. They had no purpose in life. He gave them safety. He gave them power with which they could help themselves, and did it in such a way that they felt indebted to him and were willing to help him do as he saw fit. So
that's an interesting thought. Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Yep.
I like that all these little bits that could be in favor of Kelsier and that theory of yours. That's you got some support going there at the very least. That's
yeah. It all just goes into Kelsier's character and I think maybe Marsh could be like his eyes on the ground. Like, you know, Kelsier's off doing his thing throughout the Cosmere, and every so often he just gets the mental telegram from Marsh like, hey dude, shit's going down, you might want to come back. He's like, oh, okay, guys, we got to go.
Kelsier's out here scamming people all over the place.
Yep.
Okay. This was a good day for some theories. I like this. Y'all all had some very interesting ideas out here.
None of us contradicted each other this time. That's always fun. They're all about different things.
So everybody could be right, potentially, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sure.
I like it when we're right.
I don't know whether the audience likes it better when you pull out some great theories that turn out to be right, or when you pull out some great theories that turn out to be horribly wrong. I feel like it's a toss-up.
I feel like a throwaway theory that turns out to be right early in the book is impressive.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But a wrong theory is always fun.
Especially when it's a wrong theory we can stick to forever.
I was gonna say, It's like if it's a wrong theory, it's got to be one we can hang on to for a while and make a joke out of. Otherwise, it's kind of flash in the pan. But if we get a theory right, people remember that, and then when we ever go back to reread these books, we go over that plot twist, and it's like, oh yeah, like we totally called this out of fucking nowhere.
Okay, I guess we'll move into some emails. And actually, we once again have several emails that are like, we're not going to read till we get to the end of the book, because parts of them have pretty late stuff in them. Although one has stuff for chapter 23, which we're probably reading next time, so we can read that one next time. But we're going to do one today, and this one is from Carolina, who we talked about last time. It says, hello from Estonia. Hi, Data, Joe, Jamie, and Dak. I'm writing you all the way from Estonia. I am Carolina from a recent patch of Patreon supporters. By the way, nice job pronouncing my name correctly. I hope I haven't changed it and I'm still saying it correctly.
You could have reviewed the recording, dude.
I could have. Thanks, Joe.
Do you think Data's the kind of guy that goes and listens back to the recordings and is like, oh yeah, that's how I did that? He's not that guy.
I do lots of researching for this program, and I have source material open at all times while we're recording, so I can quickly look up stuff we're talking about to make sure I don't say the wrong thing.
Sure.
I do not go back and listen to our old episodes. That's
correct.
I don't want to hear me talk. I already had to do that when I edited it. So
yeah, I totally get that. Not interested in it.
She says, thanks, Joe, for making me a sentry. This might explain my sleepless nights reading all the way until 5 a.m. and then being a zombie at work the next day.
Oh, man, I feel that.
Right. I found your podcast while I was preparing myself for a Mistborn Era 2 reread leading up to the Lost Metal release. I especially enjoy your podcast because I don't have to know all the words of Brandon to understand what's going on in the Cosmere. I usually am an extremely quick reader, like Data, and never pick up on connections until someone points them out to me. So I appreciate you, Data, for taking our hands and gently leading us through the wonders of the Cosmere without getting overwhelmed. I actually binged all of this podcast in the summer while on vacation. You were a great distraction while I was mowing my lawn. I hate mowing the lawn. Just throwing that out there. That's not what she said. That's what I say.
Right. I don't mind it.
I have gotten only 2 people in my life to read Sanderson, so I don't have anyone to discuss the new books with me. My partner has only listened to the Skyward series and White Sand graphic audio with me on our long car rides, and my best friend has only read Mistborn Era 1. Her favorite character is Kelsier, and she would love to read more about him, but she hasn't picked up Secret History. Like, please, girl. I really need you to read it to discuss Kelsier theories with me. But I haven't finished Wheel of Time like she's asked me multiple times, so I guess we're both at fault here. Wheel of Time is hard to finish. Dak will attest to that.
Well, again, I don't want to belabor that point, but yeah, I struggled and I gave up after 4 books.
I finished them real fast, but it was not the easiest. There's so much.
Well, yeah, you started reading them because like after I'd started reading them, and you were like finished before I even got to book 4 because it was just his writing style didn't quite do it for me.
There's a lot of detail.
But a lot of it was repetitive was the problem. I'm just like, we've had this conversation like 50 million times already. How are we having the same conversation?
Well, I mean, there's lots of people who will point out lots of issues with him, especially his depiction of female characters, which did bother me a lot. But I guess we won't go into that much. But yeah, there's issues.
Yeah, this ain't the Jordanlanche.
I finished The Lost Metal in 3 days, and I needed to get some thoughts from other people, so I had to join your Patreon to see what Data was thinking. I remember reading the book and thinking about all the Cosmere connections and hoping the Data would decide to allow you to read this next. My verdict was the same as his, that you have enough Cosmere awareness to read it immediately after the Bands of Mourning. So thank you, Data, for allowing them to read it and enabling me to have someone to quote-unquote discuss this book with, although this discussion is mostly one-sided. I'm glad I managed to stay spoiler-free, and I figured out some characters by myself, so I wish you all the joys of meeting old friends. Just be prepared for the ending. I think this is my favorite of all the Mistborn books. This book sets up so much for Mistborn Era 3. It makes me sad that it's probably a couple of years away still. I mean, yeah, he's going to start working on that after he does the last Stormlight book. By the time you're reading this on the podcast, Koloss Headmunching Day has probably already passed. But still, happy Koloss Headmunching Day. That was Monday, the 19th. And that was Brandon's birthday. I can't wait to read The State of the Sanderson, which he did release just recently. Since I have my birthday on the same day as Sanderson, I always treat it as a birthday present for myself. I'm hoping for some Hollywood news in this year's update. Wasn't to the time of next, Carolina. There was no Hollywood news. He actually specifically called out, it's like, I still can't give you any news. Hopefully by next year, I will be able to give some of the news. He could just say it's moving forward better than it ever has before. So honestly, the most interesting thing I found in that was he announced his new proposed name for the 5th Stormlight book. That he's like, this is probably the name we're going to go with.
Yeah. I mean, when you raise millions of dollars on a Kickstarter, Hollywood's going to go well for you, I would imagine.
Hollywood responds to money.
Yes. They see the fat money cake and they say, we want piece of cake, please.
Give us all the cake.
Money for us.
So yes, that was I'm almost certain it's going to end up being a Mistborn movie. That's my hope anyway. He definitely implied at least that it was a movie we are talking about. So which that's been a question even up till now. He just kept saying Hollywood, and sort of like, is it a movie? Is it a TV show? Are they going to turn Stormlight into an anime series, which is the way a lot of people want to see that done, while other people insist that no, that'd be a terrible way to do it. But whatever.
Man, if it's Hollywood, they're not going to go anime.
Yeah, no.
Nah.
I guess it depends on who you're talking about in Hollywood. I mean, everybody's hanging out. But anyways, so Mistborn seems like a good candidate to me. But there's, I mean, like Skyward or something, if they're wanting to do some sci-fi. It'll be a while before we get to that, but it's out there. Also, The State of the Sanderson had some really interesting stuff. Everybody should go read that if you haven't. I skipped it since I don't do audiobooks. He had a big section about audiobooks and what was coming out there, and I skipped it at first because I don't care. I'm not going to buy the audiobooks. But somebody on the Discord mentioned something and it made me go back and read it. He writes an essay practically in here where he just calls out Audible on their crappy practices. And he says that the books from the Kickstarter are not going to be available on Audible for the foreseeable future. And he says that they treat their authors very poorly, particularly indie authors. The deal Audible demands of them is unconscionable. And I'm hoping that providing market forces and talking about this issue with a megaphone will encourage change in a positive direction. So he says, the current industry standard for a digital product is to pay the creator 70% of the sale. That's what Steam pays the creator of a video game. That's what Amazon pays on ebooks. That's what Apple pays for app downloads. Audible pays 40% to the creator.
Wow.
He says that even brick and mortar stores only take like a 50% markup. Audible pays authors less than a bookstore does, when a bookstore actually has to, buy storefronts and pay staff and warehousing and all that stuff.
Wow.
But that's not even the worst. If an indie author doesn't agree to be exclusive to Audible, they don't get 40%. They get 25%.
Disgusting.
It really is. Like, I had no idea. And so he's like, and Audible basically has a monopoly right now. Like, that's where people go for their audiobooks.
And that's why they do it, because they can.
Yeah, exactly. And so he basically says that he went out and looked for some other companies that were willing to take on Audible, because those are the companies that he wanted to support to start trying to create competition in the arena, so that there would be, market forces would make them be willing to pay people what they deserve. And so he's putting these books on Spotify and Speechify. And he says that the Spotify deal, there's an NDA on that, so he can't say what he's getting. But Speechify, on the other hand, they were super excited, and they're like, we'll give you 100%. Just have Brandon Sanderson on our platform, basically, and draw people here. And he was like, so wait, is that the deal you'd give some other authors, or is that just the Brandon Sanderson deal? And so they were like, okay, well, we'd give other authors like the industry standard of 70% if they list their books directly on Speechify a la carte. And so he said, I will take that deal, and I will put my books with you if you let me make that deal public, so that any other author out there knows this is what you say you're willing to pay them. And so that's he says a lot more, but those were the interesting things that I pulled out to share on here, because I agree that this is something that people should know if they don't, because that's insane.
Yeah, that's nuts.
He also mentions that for the Lost Metal, pre-orders were 75% audio, and almost all of that was through Audible. So this is a big share of this market. But yes, and so, but yeah, like I said, the only other interesting thing I found in here was that the name of the next Stormlight book is probably going to be The Knights of Wind and Truth, which is a little dramatic for me compared to some of the other ones. But it's his book; he can call it what he wants.
That means nothing to me.
It's like, is this good? Is this relevant? Who knows?
And then there's a section where he starts talking about his company, like he talked about in his speech, right, about how much the company has grown. But there's a section that his wife writes, who is the co-president of Dragonsteel, while he is the CEO. And so the one funny thing in here is when Brandon and I signed the paperwork to create our LLC, I listed my official title as Queen, and he was president. And so I was like, that's kind of hilarious that that's her official title in this company. But I guess that we were talking about her earlier and how understanding she would have to be of how much time he spends. But I guess she's a big part of this business at this point. So it's good for her when he writes books too, I said. Okay. If you would like to send us emails like Carolina did, then our address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can find us on Patreon, where my reactions to The Lost Metal are still going up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Usually the thing I update the most is Twitter, honestly, because it automatically updates when our episodes come out. And if we don't have an episode, that's always the first place I go to post, hey, everyone, no episode this week, other than the Discord. If you really want to stay up to date on everything, the Discord is the first place that I let people know. Like, as soon as we were done recording the last episode before we had to skip a week, I went in and I was like, hey, by the way, week after next, we're not going to have a new episode, guys. Stuff's going on. So the Discord knew way ahead. But
yeah.
Sorry, and if they want to get in the Discord, they just need to send you an email and let you know, right?
I updated our official website, www.thesanderlanche.com. And if you look at the very top of the page, there's a link to join the Discord right on there. Also a link to our Patreon, although that's not hard to find. So if you want to join, go to our website, click the thing. It's a link directly to join up. For next time, we are reading 6 more chapters. So chapters 21 through 26. I don't know how they could possibly compare to all the crazy information we got in these, but who knows?
Maybe we get Hoyd's life story. That will definitely blow our fucking minds.
I think Hoyd's life story is supposed to get its own book or possibly trilogy.
Trilogy. Cool. Yeah. So did you say that was inclusive 26?
Yes, up through 26. It should be. It's 6 chapters, and so you start on 21 and go through 26. Yeah.
Just putting my bookmarks in.
So yeah, if you're following along, like some people out there specifically told us they are, that's for next time. 26 chapters, not 26 chapters. That would be.
It's gonna be a long ass
episode. we're just gonna finish the book. It's fine.
I don't think I would finish the book, honestly. There are 74 chapters in this book. So. But yes, readers, fellow readers, 6 more chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, patrons, for backing. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you, everyone who participates in our Discord. You guys are awesome. And wasing to the time of next. Colo?